A Canterlot wedding is one of the more recognized episodes of Friendship is Magic, and while not everyone likes it, it is certainly one of the most celebrated episodes. The wedding between Shining Armor and Princess Cadance was even featured under the wedding section of the New York Times. Okay, it was actually an advertisement for the episode, but still. The episode has been praised for having an unfolding and resolution complex enough for 2 parts, and having extensive ambition for an average children's show. So what are my thoughts on the episode? Well, let's take a look. The episode begins with an establishing shot on the sun, followed by the camera observing 2 butterflies. The lighting is bright and cheery to illustrate the beauty of the setting. The scene cuts between the picnic and Twilight's assistant Spike, who brings urgent news. So Twilight gets a letter from her mentor, Princess Celestia. The main 6 are told about an upcoming wedding, and Celestia requests help from each of them, which is weird, considering you'd think she'd have told them this much sooner, but alright. They're all excited, but Twilight is understandably confused. Spike then reveals that he has another letter for her, stating that the wedding is between none other than
Princess Mi Amore Cadenza and my brother.
Quite a well-deserved dramatic zoom. Twilight's friends are still excited, but Twilight is pissed.
Hey, Twilight, just thought you should know I'm making a really big decision that changes everything.
She goes on about how before she started learning lessons about friendship, her brother, Shining Armor, was her only real friend. And now we get our first song for the episode.
When I was just a filly, I found it rather silly to see how many other ponies I could meet.
Despite Twilight stating that Shining Armor was her only real friend, he's never actually been featured on the show before, so this song is our first introduction to him. It's not too bad, it shows them bonding over the years, and we do get an idea of why Twilight cares for him. After the song, Applejack goes to comfort Twilight, and Twilight reveals that her brother is captain of the Royal Guards, which excites Rarity greatly. So they take the train down to Canterlot, and Twilight confronts Shining Armor. Shining Armor reveals that a threat has been made towards Canterlot, and he's had to use a spell to protect them all, which is why he couldn't inform Twilight about the wedding. And he offers to let Twilight be his best mare, which she agrees to. He also tells her that Princess Mi Amore Cadenza is actually Twilight's old foal sitter, Cadance.
Cadance? As in the Cadance? As in the greatest foal sitter in all the history of foal sitters?
Twilight approves. So we get a flashback of Twilight's experiences with Cadance, and it does a pretty good job of establishing the bond they share. She's celebrating when she runs into the princess herself. So Twilight performs the secret hoof shake Cadance taught her, to which Cadance does not reciprocate. She then gives Twilight a strange look before the scene ends. After this, we see Cadance interacting with some of the other main 6. What's interesting is that she appears to put on a face mostly when interacting with Twilight's friends, and she seems to behave differently when Twilight is watching. Twilight becomes more and more suspicious of her brother's fiancé, and when she meets with her friends for drinks, she outright states that Cadance isn't good enough for her brother. The others are shocked at this.
Twilight, whatever are you talking about? Cadance is an absolute gem.
And this scene does work pretty well. Twilight knows Cadance the best, so it makes sense for her to know that something's up before any of her friends do. Especially since, like I said before, Cadance is particularly acting strange towards Twilight. So Twilight decides to talk with Shining Armor about his bride-to-be, before she interrupts them.
Oh, hi, sweetie.
She sure has a way of sneaking up on people.
So Cadance adjures Shining to speak with her. Twilight spies on them and finds something peculiar.
I guess I am.
Oh dear. Are you getting another one of your headaches? Feeling better?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She isn't just unpleasant and rude. She's downright evil.
Okay, here's one of my problems with this part. Twilight's known Cadence since she was a filly, so shouldn't she be confronting Cadence before saying that she's not good enough for her brother? We can still have the scene where she sees Cadence doing that spell thing, but she ought to have a little more faith in her former full sitter before that. For whatever reason, Twilight decides to wait until the next day while they're rehearsing the wedding to tell everyone her findings.
I've got something to say. She's evil.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some.
She's been horrible to my friends.
Okay,
She's obviously done something to her bridesmaids.
alright.
And if that wasn't enough, I saw her put a spell on my brother that made his eyes go all...
Objection overruled!
Why are you doing this to me?
So Shining Armor chews Twilight out, telling her that the spell was actually a healing spell to cure migraines. He's so mad he tells her that she can forget about being his best mare.
In fact, if I were you, I wouldn't show up to the wedding at all.
Ouch. Twilight is shown to be completely devastated, which is emphasized by the lighting fading on everything but her. And yeah, this scene is extremely emotional. Cadence walks by and appears to comfort Twilight.
I'm sorry. You will be.
That freaking Cadence is a spoy! So the lighting around them begins to darken as she traps Twilight, and then the first part ends. Wow, that is one Tartarus of an emotional turn. So moving on to the next episode. We start off with Twilight trapped in a cave. The only lighting in this scene is from Twilight's horn. I like how this not only gives the indication that she's in a very dark cave, but also sort of carries the feeling of abandonment and guilt Twilight was feeling at the end of the previous episode. Twilight stumbles around in the dark until the fake Cadence, starts to taunt her.
No one can hear you, and no one will ever think to look for you either.
Boy, she really knows how to toy with her prey.
Well, off to visit your brother!
Don't you dare do anything to my brother, you monster!
So she starts blasting Fakence's reflection until she eventually comes across the real Cadence.
The Cadence who brought you down here was an imposter. Likely story.
I don't know, Twilight. I don't think Fakence would go through all the trouble of having this beaten out of her just to fool you. So Cadence convinces her that she's legit by doing the secret hoof shake, despite the fact that she showed the hoof shake to Fakence earlier. So they decide to get out of there. And now we get our second song.
This day is going to be perfect. The kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small. This day was going to be perfect. The kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small.
Interesting fact, the chord progression for this song is known as a deceptive cadence. And yes, Daniel Ingram, the composer for this song, confirmed that this was intentional. On another note, this scene is very strong. The lighting on Fakence is bright and colorful, with occasional shadows being cast on her to illustrate her dark intentions. And the lighting on Cadence and Twilight is dimmed to illustrate how direct the situation is. It switches between the two multiple times. Each time we get a focus on Cadence, our desire to see her win in the end builds up more and more. And conversely, each time we see Fakence celebrating her victory, we want to see her defeated more and more as well. So Twilight and Cadence eventually find a way out, but they're stopped along the way.
You're not going anywhere.
Just wait until you see how they get past them. Really? That's all it takes? Huh, guess the mind control isn't as potent as we thought. So Cadence and Twilight arrive at the wedding, and Cadence reveals that Fakence is actually a changeling, a creature that shapeshifts into someone and feeds off the love of their partner.
Right, you are, princess.
Alright, now I can call her something other than Fakins. This is the Queen of the Changelings, also known as...
Queen of the Changelings.
Yes, also known as...
The Queen.
Yes, Queen of the Changelings, also known as...
The Queen of the Changelings.
Fine, I'll introduce her for you. This is Queen Chrysalis. She's kind of like GLaDOS from Portal in that her name is never spoken, yet everyone knows it for some reason. So because Chrysalis controls Shining, he can't keep the shield up. Celestia tries to stop her, but apparently even she isn't powerful enough to defeat her. So the main six try to get the Elements of Harmony, basically a plot device they use to defeat enemies they can't beat with brute force. Unfortunately, they're stopped by a group of changelings along the way. We get a fight scene, but they still lose. While Chrysalis is gloating, Twilight frees Cadance, who breaks the spell on Shining Armor, and revives him with her love, allowing him to cast a spell that conveniently only blasts the changelings away. That's actually another issue I have. Chrysalis is a rather cunning villain, from the way she manipulated everyone to how she managed to take over Canterlot, and every time she's bested, it seems to be sort of contrived, like with the flowers or here with the power of love. I've heard the argument that while the whole power of love thing isn't realistic, it's still a nice concept, and there's nothing wrong with children believing in something like that. But one of the things the show is known for is doing things differently than previous incarnations of it have. That's why people enjoyed the fight scene between the main six and the changelings so much. You'd never see something like the NG3 MLP. But I can see the argument that it's good for the show to continue being friendly and optimistic. After all, one of the things the Brony community has been praised for is contributing to a more benevolent, loving society. But at the same time, I still would have liked to see them work towards their victory a bit more. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too cynical. And to be fair, it is in line with Cadance's character being the Princess of Love, so it's not completely out of left field. So they get to work planning the wedding again, and once it's finished, Celestia presents Twilight's lesson.
You persisted in the face of doubt, and your actions led to your being able to bring the real Princess Cadance back to us. Learning to trust your instincts is a valuable lesson to learn.
And I'm a little mixed on this moral as well. If Twilight hadn't been right this whole time, following her instincts would have been a disastrous thing. I think Celestia should have mentioned that Twilight could have talked it out with Cadance before arriving at conclusions, and then the trusting her instincts thing would have been less destructive. It's not a terrible moral, it's just one that could be taken the wrong way in a given situation. So we finish up the wedding and end the episode on the final song. And that was a Canterlot wedding. Is it perfect? Of course not. But it does have a decent conflict, some good character development, and even some cool action. Definitely check it out if you get the chance.